was there any kind of technical problem with Babar, or do you think it was just a mental blockage with him?
He's been his own worst enemy in some regards because imagine if you had 3 bad weeks at work or 3 weeks at work where you weren't so positive and so comfortable, and your boss came down and said, "Okay, you're not working here anymore." Bumrah's a genius. He can bowl as well as anyone can bowl in the world. You need to feel confident that your spot is strong and you're not going to be dropped or left out of the team or challenged because of one innings. If the franchise model continues to expand, something will have to give to make space for it. And I expect at the moment it's probably going to be 50 over cricket.
Hello and welcome. Today I have very special guest with me, Pakistan team's former high performance coach Tim Nielsen. Welcome to the show, Tim. How are you doing?
Hello, AB. I'm very well, thank you. It's great to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
So straight away I'll come to your journey with Pakistan team players and management, especially the first series, that historic defeat against Bangladesh 2-0 in Rawalpindi, and then a strong comeback against England 2-1. So how would you explain your journey with Pakistan team, like players Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan and Shaheen Afridi?
I'm glad you brought up that first series against Bangladesh. We were trying to forget that one, but no, we had some fine times. It was a tough start, but it was probably a good way to start because it showed us pretty quickly. And when I talk about us, I talk about Jason Gillespie and myself as the two new coaches in the Red Ball team. It showed us the team under pressure. It showed us when things didn't always go to plan. We had some really good moments in those series, but we probably just lost some very important moments in this series, which ultimately ended up meant that we ended up losing the two test matches. So whilst it's never nice to lose any test match or test match series, it was probably beneficial in a way to start in that vein, so that we had a good understanding of how the players reacted under pressure. We had a good understanding about how the conditions were going to play in Rawalpindi, where we knew we were going to be playing quite a few test matches because of the redevelopment of the test venues in Lahore and Karachi, for example. Um, and we certainly learnt a lot about the playing group because, as you know, when things aren't going perfectly, it's when most people are at their most vulnerable and when people actually show their true colours, and we see how people and the team reacted. So it gave us some good things to work on, and was probably a big part of the fact that even though we didn't have a good first test match, as you mentioned, against England, we were able to keep fighting. We were able to find a way to get back into the game. Um, we played on spinning wickets, which was a good learning curve for us. And we were able to make sure that over that period we improved our catching, we improved our fielding, we improved our batting especially, and our spin bowling came to the fore. And that laid the foundation for us to have a really good Test series win. So it was very enjoyable working with the group. I don't speak Urdu. Jason doesn't speak Urdu, but we had the universal language of cricket, which was the thing that we all understood and that we all talked about a lot. And we really enjoyed our time doing that. And as you say, had some really good times with the likes of Shan Masood, the captain, all the way through to Saeem Ayub, Saj Shakil, Babar Azam. We had Riz. We had all the different players, Nazim Shah, all these players who were either well entrenched, or some were just finding their way in the game. And it was quite different in the way they went about it. So we felt like we had an opportunity to have some impact with them as a coaching staff and try and lead and develop them in a positive way, which was good fun.
But right after that test season, you guys traveled with Pakistan team to Australia, and Pakistan beat Australia in Australia for the first time in last 22 years. But right after this historic victory, things suddenly went sideways and you guys were released. So how would you describe your journey with Pakistan Cricket Board, and what circumstances happened due to which you guys had to left Pakistan team?
I believe that was a decision that the PCB made, especially in my point. They made the decision. It was communicated to me that they wanted to use locally produced and local coaches, Pakistani-based coaches, which is I understand as well. Um, we hopefully and we would have liked to have kept going. I was packed and ready to go to South Africa for the Test series over there, and expecting to work in Multan as well against the West Indies. However, they made the decision and communicated that to me, and because of that, we obviously didn't go. And then I think in the end, Jason's decision was separate to my decision. It was on the back of me being released from my contract. So it was a bit disappointing. And as you say, we felt like we were starting to get some respect and trust both for us and for us for the team. So it was working both ways for us, which is obviously a very important part of any successful coaching and team environment. And we'd spent, 5 or 6 or 7 months actually learning about the players, how Bubba liked to prepare and how he played and the things that we were trying to suggest or we could suggest maybe that he might improve with an eye to when we were playing in Australia or playing in South Africa. So, and probably just a different perspective of things, bringing things from an Australian perspective rather than having everything from a Pakistani perspective. Not to say either is correct, but more to say that it's different ideas and different things to think about and look at, and different ways to play the game. And if we can get the best parts of all of those things together, we hoped it would make better players and a better team. So it was a bit disappointing when it finished. And that's international cricket, isn't it? That's the way it goes, and they made their call.
Like we just talked about Pakistan beating Australia in Australia after a long time, and then Pakistan traveled to South Africa and Pakistan clean sweep there for the first time in ODIs. After that, team Pakistan played tri-series at home and Pakistan failed. And then a Champions Trophy that Pakistan was hosting ICC tournament after a long time, but Pakistan was the first team to be eliminated from this tournament. So how would you describe like beating Australia in Australia, South Africa in South Africa? What went wrong with Pakistan team like finishing like that in ICC tournament at home?
Yeah, they were a bit unlucky at times. And let's not forget, ICC trophies are very difficult. It's the top 8 teams in the world, and there's no room and there's no place for one bad session that can actually cost you your whole tournament, which I think probably happened in the ICC trophy. I think ultimately, the form of the players it looked like it was very good. Obviously, after Australia and then South Africa, we felt like we'd been involved in setting up a team in one-day cricket that was heading in the right direction. However, as I say, one small thing going wrong, one bad little session where the opposition gets on top can mean that your tournament's over. So I think the biggest challenge that comes with that, though, is to try and remain calm and try and remain consistent with your coaching ideas, especially with your selection ideas, with your leadership ideas, because there is so much pressure from both the Pakistan public and the Pakistani media as well. So there's enough going on without more pressure being added from the inside. And I can only guess at times that the pressure built up to a stage where the players felt that pressure and that therefore impacted their performance. And that's one of the greatest challenges, I think, for Pakistani teams, not just now, but in history and moving forward. The expectations are very, very high. And if it doesn't work out for a small period of time, then there is an expectation for great change, which means that everything must start again. And sometimes we just need to ride the wave. We're not going to win every game. We're not going to lose every game. When we win, we're not as good as everyone thinks you are. We're not right up here. And when you lose, it doesn't mean you're right down there. It just means that you've had a day that you need to improve. And I think if I had anything that I could suggest to Pakistan cricket would be try and be more calm and keep things on a bit more level playing field, a calmer playing field over a longer journey that allows them to show their real talent.
You mentioned that ICC tournaments are different from bilateral cricket. Definitely, they are different. But if we talk about last couple of tournaments that Pakistan played, especially the 2023 One Day World Cup and then 2024 T20 World Cup, Pakistan's approach is far, far behind than other teams. Even associate teams played more aggressively than Pakistan team in the T20 World Cup 2024. So what would you say about Pakistan's approach? Is there any technical or skill set problem, or do you think it's just a mental blockage or mindset?
It's certainly not skill set because you don't lose your skills overnight. If you can beat Australia in Australia and you can beat South Africa in South Africa, we can beat England in a Test series in in Pakistan, sorry, all vastly different surfaces, all vastly different conditions. It shows there is a great skill set from batting, bowling, wicket keeping, fielding, everything is there. And as usual in international cricket, more often than not, it gets down to the mental state of the players and the ability to be calm under pressure and show off your skills as best you possibly can. And I can only imagine that at times, because the pressure was so great, they felt like they had to be a bit more careful rather than being able to play with confidence that if I do play aggressively, if I do attack, if I do try and score at 6, 8, 10 runs and over, especially in 2020 cricket, that's not sustainable for 20 overs by one player every game. You're going to take risks and you're going to get out. But to do it and play that way, you need to feel confident that your spot is strong, and you're not going to be dropped or left out of the team or challenged because of one innings. And I think that's probably what we try to instill in the group. And I just wonder at times whether there is this feeling that if I don't play my best every time, then my spot, my personal position in the team becomes under pressure. And that's a great challenge. And especially when you're playing against the best teams in the world, you need to have confidence in your support and you need to be able to play with confidence because the bowling is good enough, it's going to bowl you out, and the batting is good enough, it's going to score off you at different times. It's not always going to go your way in international cricket. And the best teams over the periods, they haven't won every game, but they've had a lot more good days than bad days. And their challenge is to try and play as well as you can to your highest level as often as you possibly can.
Well, team, I saw you in Rawalpindi working with Babar Azam in nets, and there were a lot of technical things you were talking about that I couldn't understand at all. But as you know, Babar is going through his lean patch. So, as you have worked with him, so do you think was there any kind of technical problem with Babar, or do you think it was just a mental blockage with him, or any kind of pressure he was feeling?
Yeah, I think he's been his own worst enemy in some regards because he's scored such a huge number of runs throughout the early part of his career at such a high average that the expectation again from Pakistani people and the people of the country that he'll just keep doing it at that level. Don Bradman's the only one that's ever averaged 100, basically, isn't he? Everyone else, and often the greatest players have started off by averaging somewhere around 60 and 70 and then found their way over their career back to the very, very best are in the early 50s. And then the great players are in the late 40s. So, I think maybe the expectations are high. I think, and I quickly mentioned to you prior to us starting what a talented player he is, what a beautiful ball striker he is. But he's human too. And that's probably the greatest thing that I learn about Bubba and all the players is that they feel the pressure. They want so badly to perform well for Pakistan and for their families and for themselves that they often put a lot of pressure on themselves. And it's not always technical. Against against Bangladesh, for example, in the first test in Pindi, he got out caught down the leg side off one of the pace bowlers. I mean, that's just unlucky. And that had happened a couple of times in previous tests in a short form. So I don't think there was any. It wasn't like he was dangling his bat well outside of his body to nick it down the leg side. He just went to do a leg glance and it come off fine, and the keeper took a great catch. So sometimes you have those runs. It is really important with those really good players that they have full confidence in that the coaching staff and the captain give them their 100% support and allow them to play with freedom and allow them to play with their own strengths and to play how they want to play and not try and get involved in telling them how to play. And I think that day that you talk about with Bubba, the main thing that I was trying to get him to or remind him to do was to just make sure he was watching the ball very, very closely and hit the ball back where it deserved to go. And I was trying to throw them straight so that it hit the ball back past me and was moving his body well and presenting a full face of the bat to the ball rather than looking to hit it either through mid wicket or maybe inside out through cover. Because that's usually where the gaps are. And sometimes you start searching for runs and you're playing across the line or inside out to the fast bowlers, even the spinners. So nothing groundbreaking, AB. It was really about trying to get him to watch the ball closely and to give him the opportunity to use his skills. And sometimes batsmen just need some love. They just need a little bit of one-on-one time. They just need some time where if you can throw the ball in the right places so that they can hit it where they want to hit it, and if you can put the ball there so they can do it repetitively and feel good about it, that is sometimes just the thing they need to come back to scoring. And I've no doubt that Bubba will continue to be a great player. I see he got 50 odd last night in the PSL. I've no doubt that he'll get more runs across the journey and continue to win games for Pakistan, given he has the right support and the right encouragement.
Well, Team Pakistan cricket is very impressionable, especially the fan base, even the management. Like there are two or three bad performances from a player, and he's just rested or dropped. So, do you think this might hurt the confidence of players like Babar, Rizwan, or Shaheen Afridi? Especially you was with team when Babar and Shaheen and Naseem Shah was dropped from England series, and then Pakistan although won those test matches.
Yeah, they're changes. I mean, I just ask everyone who gets so uptight. Imagine if you had 3 bad weeks at work or 3 weeks at work where you weren't so positive and so comfortable, and your boss came down and said, "Okay, you're not working here anymore." You'd feel very upset and feel like you didn't get a good opportunity to show off your best, or maybe sometimes we just don't know what's going in your life behind the scenes. Maybe there's a family illness, or maybe there's something. Maybe you're not feeling so well. So, cricket is a tough game. You can sometimes it's not even your fault. The umpire can make a decision that not necessarily correct, and the batsman can be given out, and that costs him his potentially his job. So, um, it's just as important, and I'll keep coming back to it in Pakistan cricket. There is no doubting the talent in the team, talent in the country, and the way that they play when they're confident. The biggest challenge for the system is to support these very good players and to make them feel confident about their position in the team and allow them to have good days and bad days, and trying to keep coaching and educating them that when they have a good day, they're not the greatest player in the world, and if they have a bad day, they're certainly not a bad player. They just had a bad day, and we need to keep working hard to try and make our performances more consistent. And that was probably the thing that Jason and I we kept challenging ourselves with, to try and encourage and create an environment where the players felt like they could play positively without fear of being dropped.
Tim, one question I cannot go away without asking. You saw Australian team's dominance in 2000s, and now we are witnessing similar kind of dominance from Indian team, especially in the one day format. They have lost just one game in last three white ball tournaments, and in from last 15 series, India have just lost two. So what do you think India is doing that other teams are not? And moreover, do you see India having a long-term dominance in this format?
Yeah, I've no doubt. If they're not dominant, they'll certainly be in the best couple of teams in the world. I remember way back in the early 2000s, the feeling was that for Australian teams, for example, that if we played in Australia, we would probably win. If we played in India, they would probably win. Our team in 2004 that won for the first time in 30 years spent a lot of time in India playing one day cricket and learning about the conditions, learning about the opportunities or the opposition, sorry, and they really started to develop and think about a way, and especially after 1999 when they played and had that amazing test match, for example, when India followed on and chased down such a huge score, they learnt so many lessons in that test series, and that test team came back probably without a couple. There was no Steve Waugh or Mark Waugh or Michael Slater, but the core of the team was still there. So they learned, and India's doing that more and more now as well. They're coming to Australia more regularly. They're playing in Australia, which is what I see, for five test series. The IPL has had a tremendous impact on just the development and the growth of young Indian players around the place. And I think the other thing is, we always used to think that our fitness, our ability to play a high level of cricket over 5 days, the fitness side of things was probably a natural advantage for us. But I think India have now caught up in that area. They're fit, they're strong, they're big, they can hit the ball hard. Bumrah's a genius. He can bowl as well as anyone can bowl in the world. So they've got some great players. They're all physically fit and physically and mentally fit and well and strong. And they're getting exposure to different conditions and different players all the time through their own tournaments and through their tours. So I fully expect them to be very, very hard to beat wherever they play over the next little while.
Do you think cricket will mirror the football model, especially phasing out the bilateral series and only ICC tournaments and year-round franchise leagues?
I hope not. I hope we continue and maintain the international. I mean, I'm a massive fan of of Test match cricket as well. I love all the formats of cricket. I see real benefits and some growth in and players learning and developing in all three formats of the game. I hope that international cricket maintains the highest standing, and the franchise cricket can work around that. It'll be challenging though. There's some people with a lot of money and a lot of influence that would like to see more franchise cricket, and there's only 12 months in the year. So we're going to have to find ways to make sure that we fit in Test match cricket, one day international cricket, and 50 over cricket. I fear for 50 over cricket maybe, because if something has to give, if the franchise model continues to expand, something will have to give to make space for it. And I expect at the moment it's probably going to be 50 over cricket. But I hope we can hang on to it. It's a great it's a great format of the game. And maybe that will be one way that we play just ICC events, but I would hope not. I hope that we can keep all three formats of the game. It's a unique thing about cricket. We're probably the only sport in the world that has three formats at the international level, and they can vary so greatly between 20 overs and 540 overs in a game, which is a big difference. So it's something that I love and think is great about cricket.
Thank you, team, for your time and in-depth analysis. I hope everyone enjoyed this. See you guys in next video with another guest.